How should a girl respectfully respond to shorter guys who are insecure about their height? Just be upfront. Tell them it's not an issue. Give compliments on traits you like. Men so rarely receive them. That alone will probably bolster their self-esteem with you dramatically. Just don't wear heels. How about you learn to spell the word first? Close bracket. Entitled to my opinion. I cannot imagine how stupid one would have to be to talk about being insecure about their height to a woman they just met and are interested in. Starting with any insecurity kind of takes the wind out of a situation. Hey, this tastes like shit. Want some? Have you ever played with smelling salts? No. But I found this really amazing smelling stuff grouped in with all the cleaning products. Why is everything suddenly getting really white? I don't think short men mind being passed over by a 6-foot woman. They mind being passed over by a 5'0" woman. That kind of makes sense. It's weird when a girl is like 5'3" but insists a man has to be over 6. But the ironic thing is that a lot of women who are taller than average seem to be less hung up on wanting a tall man than women on the shorter or average side. I think part of it may be because they are already used to being taller than people around them, so it's not as big of a deal with a partner, and because in some ways they may have experienced the flip side of some of the stereotypes and inconveniences that short men deal with. But what is wild as a tall woman was the number of not even friends, but co-workers and casual acquaintances who had something to say about me dating a shorter man, and about shorter men in general. I have a theory it's because short people are subconsciously trying to make up for their genes by selecting taller partners. Women who are already tall don't care as much about height because they already have the tall genes, so they can be more variable in the height of their partners. I sometimes wonder if I've done the same thing, not about height, but about butt size. I have a small butt, but looking back on it, every man I've seriously dated had a huger. Was it coincidence? Or was I trying to compensate for my smaller genes? Since when is 5 feet 9 inches considered short? I think she just means relative to herself, 6 feet. Height is part of looks. Looks matters to almost everyone to varying degrees. Before someone argues, almost everyone has their line in the sand. People being insecure about their looks is as old as time. You're not really going to fix this. Usually gets better with age/maturity, but not always. Yeah, this has always been truth and will continue to be true. Just be yourselves, and the person who into people like you will come to you. The ones that don't aren't, so just let them filter themselves out. What can I say to make them feel much better about themselves? I like you works. I can't wait to spend more time with you works. You're my person works. I want you works. Basic transparency is going to go the furthest. There's nothing you can say about his height that's going to secure him. So focus on saying something that gives your desire to him. 5 feet 7 plus is not short. Its average height 6 apostrophe plus is tall. 5 feet 6 inches and below is short. Average height for a man in the USA is more like 5 feet 9, so 5 feet 7 would be on the shorter side of the typical range. Depends on race. White men tend to be taller than Hispanics, the two most common groups where I live. I went to a church in the good part of town that was consequently entirely safe for whites. All of the high schoolers were taller than me. A white man, who's the tallest of all my Hispanic coworkers. According to the data on Wikipedia, it shows 5 feet 10 for non-Hispanic whites and 5 feet 7. 5 feet for Hispanic men. I see plenty of comments coming from short, average, and tall men saying they dream of being with a girl around your height. My advice is, if somebody seems disinterested or apprehensive about being with you, even if it's because they are insecure about themselves, move on. There are many people out there who would be ecstatic to be with you. Promise. Pat them on the head and tell them they are a good boy. Don't talk down to them. Some men will pay good money for this. You should just reassure them that their height isn't stopping you from wanting to date them. You really can't. It's gotta come from within. I'm 5 feet 7 inches and the least bit insecure about my height. But that's from realizing that I'm not meant for everyone, and not everyone is meant for me. Whether that be height, weight, political beliefs, religion, etc. They can choose to be miserable about it, or choose to not give a fuck. Same. I'm 5'8" and don't really care about height. I guess growing up with my mom being slightly taller than my dad kinda desensitized me to the whole the man has to be taller social norm. That being said, I don't really want to be with a 6'2" woman, but the same way I don't want to be with a 5'2" woman. I've never been insecure about my height. I've dated taller girls. If he has a problem, that is all on him. Perhaps express this. Tell him the height isn't an issue for you. You're still going to wear them pumps when you go out and be his girl. Maybe a little more physical affection in public places would go a long way. In the end it's in his head, not in those legs. I like your height, so please don't ever worry about it. I'm fat and have been forever. A girl said basically the big belly version of the above sentence, and it helped me a lot. I would ask, are you bringing height up as a topic? Cause I'm 5'4", and I do not talk about this with women. It helps nothing, and any well-adjusted man isn't going to draw attention to something considered unattractive about themselves. The only thing that I can think of is that the topic is being broached, and maybe even you are venting about your height and they are taking it as a green light to respond in turn about their own experiences. If that's not the case, tell me. But in any case, if they are worried about their height setting them back, just tell them it's not something you judge for. If that's actually true, I take a lot of pride in my height actually. It's not an insecurity to me whatsoever. I'm 6 feet, which is exceptionally tall for a girl though. They know the height difference doesn't bother me, but I think the comments other people make about the 6-inch gap are rough. Can I ask how you would deal with a woman significantly taller than you? You may not mention your height, but if the girl has 8 inches on you, you're going to get a lot of looks and comments. I think that'll make any guy at least a little more self-conscious. If I love their personality, obviously the height isn't going to stop me from continuing to talk to shorter guys. I just wanted some advice on how to respond when it gets to be too much for them. Kisses were invented to make people shut up. Most of the time, when they bring it up, they just want you to acknowledge that it's not going to be a problem. Don't patronize them with any sort of shocking nonsense. If that's indeed what they're looking for, then they're too insecure anyway, and it's time to move on. Guys with confidence realize they have flaws, insecurities about issues that aren't typically seen as attractive, and have come to terms with them. They just want acknowledgement from you that it's not going to be an issue later. Sure, you're liking him now, but what about in a couple weeks or months? Dude just about guaranteed has had a GF or someone he's dated say she had no problems with the fact that he's short, only to dump him because she couldn't handle it later. Yeah, you like him now, but how much rubbing from your friends are you going to be able to handle? Are you going to be able to take the weird looks you'll be getting all the time when you're out together? Is you reaching stuff for him going to annoy you? Are you going to be able to deal with guys disrespecting him and constantly measuring by trying to take you off his arm in front of him? Let's face it, people make assumptions and bad calls. They see a pretty and tall woman with a shorter man and more than a few idiot assholes are going, think/feel, oh, she's got low self-esteem. I bet I can get her and have a little fun. Because let's face it, women prefer taller men. And when they settle for something less than what culture/society thinks they should, or they normally do, it's usually because of self-worth issues. That kind of stuff wears on a person and a relationship. Dude just wants to know that you know what you're signing up for, and that you have the potential to be trusted with his heart, and that you're not just going to walk away. Unfortunately, you're fighting years of society making short guys feel insecure about their heights, so other than reassuring them, I'm not sure you can do much else. There are a lot of women that have strong height preferences and they'll make short guys feel inadequate. Nice tall ladies are cool. Wow. I'm 5'9", and I'd love to date a really tall girl. I tell her to wear high heels too. Tell them to wear heels. I always thought that having a tall wife would be a huge benefit to any kids we had. I'm like 5'6" and life would have been much easier for me if I were taller. A friend of mine said his dad did exactly that and found the tallest woman he could and married her. My friend's dad is 5'5" and he's 5'10", and his mom is about 6 feet. No one should ever be embarrassed about a physical attribute over which they have no control. This happens in most men, though they never say it, unless they know you well. This is a common theme that a lot of guys don't seem to understand. Being slightly shorter, slightly bolder or slightly underpaid aren't necessarily enough to put a girl off you. But being obviously and constantly insecure about yourself often is. This is a common theme that a lot of guys don't seem to understand. Being slightly shorter, slightly bolder or slightly underpaid aren't necessarily enough to put a girl off you. It literally is enough. Women can easily find another guy. M5. 7 Myself and I never had any success with girls my height or taller. I always been rejected by them. BC of height. I heard couple of times phrases like, if you just were taller it's brutal. However, I don't have a problem with girls my height or taller rejecting me. I understand they want a taller guy than them. What I have problem with is when girls shorter than me like 5'3", 5'2" or below close to dwarf territory are telling me that I'm too short, or they want a guy over 6 feet. Like, mon, you can't be that delusional. Just my own opinion. 168 centimeters. I don't have a preference in guys' height, but what I enjoy a lot is kissing short-ish guys. Like, kissing just straight on the same level, not bending my neck side and up ways. So, maybe this is something you like too, and could tell them. Wild to me that any height above 5 feet can be considered short. 5 feet 6 inches and under for a guy's definitely short. Shut it down immediately and let them know it's not an issue. If they continue whining about it, they're going to drag you down. As a guy who is 5'9", I'd be more than happy to date you. 6 feet is actually kinda cute, lol. I'm also not insecure about my height. Just reassure them that you don't mind that they're shorter than you. Embrace them and make sure their face is at chest height and firmly planted and held there. No more insecurities. / for real. There will always be people out there who will do and say dumb s like, don't date short men, and part of growing is learning to ignore them. Most people I met don't care, and it tends to be a loud minority at best. Talk to them. Don't make short jokes and you should be fine. Only say something if they comment first. Just be kind and reassuring.